Welcome back to a brand new episode of Mastering Programming. In today's episode, we're going to be learning about different types in Swift, such as integers, doubles, boolean, and strings. Let's go ahead and go to our playground, and we're going to start by creating integers. Now, we've already been using integers and strings, but I'll also give you an example. So, I'll be creating a variable. Actually, let's go ahead and create a let, and I will say number, and I will give it a value of 5. Let's also create a string, and I'll simply say let, and I will say string, and I'll give it a value of 5. I will also create a double, and this is the different thing today. I will do that by saying let, and I will say true or false, and I'll give it a value of false. And then lastly, a boolean. So I'll say let, and I will say decimal, and I will give it a value of 5.5. Sure. So this is how you declare a boolean, by simply giving it a value of true or false. This is how you create a boolean, by giving it any number with a decimal inside of it. It can be 5.5, or it can be 0.5, or anything else. An integer is simply passing in a number, and a string is simply giving in a string. Let's go ahead and explore this in a little bit more. Let's say I want to give number a different value, so let's create this as a variable. Now I can say number is equal to 6, and Swift will not cause any issues. But I cannot say something like this, 6. And if I leave this for a second, Swift is going to complain. It says cannot assign value of type string to type int. Inside of Swift, which is a type-safe language, we cannot actually use a different type to what this object was declared as. Number is equal to 5. That means number is always going to be carrying an integer. It's exactly the same as if I did something similar to this. Now, here it's saying that it's accepting integer. Whether this is actually showing or not, if the number after equal is 5, that means that this is actually showing, but you just can't see it. It means that we're pretty much declaring this variable, and we're saying it will always be carrying integers. So let's go ahead and remove this and put back a number. Let's see what we can do with strings. Let's change the let into a variable. Let's go ahead and try give this a number. So I can say something like string is equal to 5. As you can see, and in no time, Swift is going to complain, and it will say cannot assign value of int to type string. This is exactly the same as having this declared as this. We're pretty much telling Swift that we're going to be assigning string a value of string, and we are then passing a string. If we try to pass anything other than a string, we're going to get an error as you're seeing in front of you right now. But what if we want to display a number inside of a string? Is it impossible? Not at all. We can actually do this in multiple ways. We can wrap our number inside of a string by simply typing string, open and close a bracket, just like this. In fact, if I then say print and say string and run this file, we will get 5 printed, but 5 is being printed as a string and not a number. The other way of doing this is like this. We can open and close a bracket. Obviously, we can leave it as 5, or we can open and close another bracket inside. And if I run this, Swift will not complain, and it will see 5 as a string. We can never, however, go over here and do something like this. This will not work, and Swift will complain. It will say value of optional type int must be unwrapped to a value of type int. If I go ahead and click this, and even give it a default value, something like 5, and run, now it will work. But it will work because it will assume that we're going to be using this object. It will never actually refer to SDF. And if I go ahead and say print number and then run, as you can see, we're printing that 5 over here. So we can never actually print a string inside of an integer. Let's go ahead and see what we can do with the true or false object that we created over here. As you can see, this is declaring a Boolean type. It's carrying false. It can only carry false or true. Let's change this into a var and I'll show you an example. Let's go ahead and try give it a value of an integer. I'll say true or false is equal to 0, and you will see in a second that we are going to be getting an error. What else can we do with true or false though? Well, we can give it a value of true, and now this will carry the value of true instead of false. We can also do something like toggle, and this means that it will change from false to true, or if it was true, it will be false. Something else that we can do is we can check if true or false is equal to a different true or false statement. Let me show you what I mean. I'll say equal to, and I'll open and close a bracket, and I'll say 0, 0. This stands for not equal to 0. Let me print out true or false. Oops. And show you what I mean. If I go ahead and run this, we are printing false. Now, to understand this, we first need to understand something. 0 is not equivalent to 0. Is this statement true? No, it's not. It's false. And that's why we're giving true or false the value of a false. What happens if I do this and then run? It will give me true, because this is a true statement. Thank you for watching. This was it for this episode. We learned about different types in Swift, how to declare them, how to play with them, and what we can and cannot do. If you enjoyed this episode, please stick around in this playlist. Make sure you give us a subscribe, make sure you give us a like, and give me your feedback if you did not like anything. Have a good day.